Motion to approve.
All right, Sean, motion to approve.
Second.
Greg, second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Next up, announcements. Are there any announcements from the town staff?
Okay. Wasn't expecting.
Sorry guys, I had two different microphones going on. We have finally gotten the draft version of the Wake County land cover analysis and tree cover analysis. We're going through it right now. Unfortunately, we got it the same week that all of our comments for typical plan review are due, so I'm probably not going to finish that till next week. We have our meeting with Wake County and the consultant on the 25th. We'll probably have some requests for them to change some things, and then they're anticipating being done with all of the municipalities and the county by the end of June at the latest. So we're hoping for, so the first meeting of July is canceled. Actually, both meetings of July are canceled for town council. So if they aren't able to make it for the second meeting in June, then we would, they would come and present in August, probably the first meeting in August, because that tends to be the lighter town council agenda. So I will let you know when that is scheduled, so that you can attend or you can watch remotely at home via YouTube, whichever one you'd rather do. I know which one I prefer, but and I think that's it at the moment. I don't think I have any other updates other than what you already know.
The materials that they are going to be presenting, are those going to be made available on the town's website, or?
They will. When they do the agenda, when they do the presentation, we'll make sure that those are links in the town council agenda at the very least.
Okay.
We may be able to get them already set up on the town's website so that people have a chance to look at them. But at the very least, there'll be links in the town council agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jessica, anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Do you all have any updates on the sustainability position? Has that, okay.
I don't. I believe it's closed now. At least they have a bunch of applicants. That's the last I heard. It's been a few weeks since I heard anything.
She knows more than I do.
Okay. Thank you. All right. If there's no other announcements, we will move on to open discussion and Earth Fest and Peak Fest recaps. So thank you all to Jessica and Lindley and James and the rest of the Stormwater staff for helping us with organizing and hauling our stuff back and forth. That was amazing. So thank you. Also, thank you to the EAB members who were able to make it, as well as Caitlin from Bee City, who helped us cover a shift at Peak Fest. So that was really nice. For those of you that couldn't make it, Earth Fest was actually moved inside to the community center due to torrential downpours. And that was nice that that was able to happen rather than a wholesale cancellation. Kind of felt like there was decent attendance, but it could have just been others from other booths kind of doing the circuit within the building. But I know I had a number of conversations with people that were really good. And of course, the weather was beautiful for Peak Fest, so that went off as planned. As far as our education topic, which was the native plants and invasive plants, I thought there was quite a bit of interest. Especially the invasive plants, I feel like it kind of skewed more that way. People were like really interested in, do I recognize these? What do they look like? That kind of thing, which I guess is a good thing, but it might have been nice for people to be a little more excited about the native plants. So what were your all's impressions? Like, what things came to mind that we might change, or just any thoughts?
I was pleasantly surprised by the level of interest and also by the number of people who actually were familiar with the EAB. Because I think when we had Peak Fest 2 years ago, no one was familiar with the EAB, so that was nice.
Yeah, I got that same impression too.
I appreciate Caitlin being there when I was there.
Okay. So do you?
She was able to explain a few things that I had no clue on. So.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and that's probably something to keep in mind as next year's events get planned. I know like the timeline was pretty tight this year, so we didn't have a lot of time to prepare like each other on the educational topic, you know, to get everybody comfortable with talking about it. So I do recommend that planning maybe start like way earlier, like maybe like at the January meeting even, you know, to like start thinking about the topics and maybe vote on them and then just sort of go from there.
But that said, I really appreciate the handout that we did get in advance.
Oh yes,
That gave me
was
some
amazing.
tools, I think, to
It was
help
helpful.
educate other people. Yeah, that was
And
excellent.
the board was beautiful. I mean, everybody was super interested in that,
great.
so that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I think a little education would have helped some key points on, okay, like how widespread are the invasive species? What are the actual major problems that they're causing in the state? I'm really still not aware of that. I mean, I brought up some things about things I knew about in other states where
Right.
invasive species had taken over and kind of caused major concerns. And there's a monetary issue there. It costs a lot of money to deal with it. And there's obviously other things that would tie in. So I think highlighting those things is important. I'm also not that surprised that people would be more interested in the word invasive than native, because it's everybody's all about conflict. Conflict drives discussion, and you know, the
Well,
invasive
I mean,
sounds
if they're
like
aware, if they're aware that that is a problem, then I mean, whether they focus on native or invasive, I mean that I think is pushing the education down a little bit.
So I would say maybe 1 or 2 meetings before the event, perhaps leave some time in the agenda to like do and educate each other kind of thing. However that looks, presentations or,
Or maybe bring somebody in from the outside who can
that's a great idea.
do something.
Yeah, so that sort of lends itself to deciding on an education topic well in advance. And I don't know, like, we could do that in the fall, but I know that, like, you know, some board members' terms are up in December, so do you want to have the new folks weigh in on that to make it theirs? You know, that's just something we'll have to think about as we go forward. And just, I'm assuming that the EAB will continue to do these festivals. There's obviously other education things that could be done, either in addition or probably not in place, because these are high visibility events, which is really nice.
One thing that we had talked about, and I don't know how feasible it is, but is to pick a topic with Tree Cap and Bee City. So then, A, they can be at the same booth with us, but B, if they have an event that they're going to that we're not going to, we can still all be sharing the same materials.
Yeah.
So I think if we're able to do that, that just might give the education topic more width in the community.
Yeah, we had tried that a little bit because I was on that special committee, and we'd spoken to him and said, hey, we should, see if we can at least get our booths put together. It was too close.
Okay.
That's what happened.
fair
But
enough.
this particular topic actually melded very well for that because, you talk about native trees and you talk about native plants.
Right.
And then you have the bees and how they can do the pollination. It worked together, but it was too close.
And yeah, and I think Tree Cap was actually a couple booths down the way. So I know I ended up they were asking about native trees. Well, who's doing the planting of the native trees? And it's like, oh, well, Tree Cap. And they're a couple booths down, but it would have been nice to have them.
Maybe we can coordinate getting the booths closer together.
We can work on that.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee it since we're not the people who make
I
the,
understand.
the
Put a
list.
request in though.
But we can put that request in.
I mean, that would probably help
Yeah.
a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Just so for the record, so other people know, since there was some confusion, the tablecloth is in with the canopy. So the big case of the canopy, that is where it is. Also, we have 1.5 boxes of the pollinator pots left, and about one box, no more than one box, like 3/4 maybe, of the fans with the seeds. So depending on if we get a budget from council for next year, we'll need to order some things, and that should probably start very early as well, to get a handle on that. So we did have a pen and paper out to gather citizen feedback. We did not get a whole lot of feedback, so I don't know if maybe we want to think about doing some kind of digital, electronic kind of thing if we decide to ever gather feedback at these events. But we had 5 comments or feedbacks. One person asked what the town's plans were for EV parking. I don't know if that means just like, is the town going to provide parking for visitors and citizens to use or not? But that might be something we could work on getting the word out about. Somebody else wanted to know how we can safely dispose of invasive plants. That actually is a good question we probably should have been covering. Put them in the garbage, unfortunately. You cannot, well, don't compost them, I guess is the long and short of it. Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do. Maybe burn them if that's allowable, but do not burn poison ivy if you have any poison ivy in among your invasive plants.
Be real careful with
You will regret it.
Yeah.
It will not turn out good.
Yeah. So this is actually a good one. How can we balance the need to protect our environment with the need for affordable homes? That is a vast topic that we could dive into, perhaps, if the town wanted a strategy from the EAB or a proposal or some ideas. I don't know what council's thoughts on that might be.
That seems to me to be a good topic, probably for if we did some kind of town hall situation where we have a range of topics to discuss, and that one, sometimes it could be competing interests that are occurring.
There are a lot of competing.
Cost difference. They're both costly, and so kind of balancing the values there is a challenge. It probably depends on where it is too. I think in general, I would think affordable housing nearer to amenities, stuff like near downtown or whatever, and more environmentally friendly things out toward Jordan Lake probably be the way you balance that. But that's too big for just you guys to answer.
Yeah, it is a huge, enormous topic.
You know, a lot of affordable housing tends to certify with Energy Star. So at least they're getting a green building certification of some sort. So, it's going to be a little bit better for the environment in that sense.
Yeah. We also had somebody thank us for the creative giveaway items. They really like the planting pots and I guess the fans. Somebody else requested more educational events or volunteer opportunities, which was interesting. I'm not sure how we could pull that off without having accidentally establishing a quorum. But that might be something to think about.
We
You
have
guys get 4 people on a subcommittee,
Okay.
and you can establish that and then bring them back to the board for approval. And then only 4 people at a time can be in attendance at the volunteer.
Okay.
So you could do shifts like you did at the festival, and do 2 or 3 people at a time so that you have some space in case somebody comes early or leaves.
Okay, that's good to know.
So you just avoid doing a quorum, and if you want staff assistance with setting up Teams meetings or attending and taking notes or anything like that for any committee meetings, I'm happy to help out.
Okay, thank you.
I would also add that it's my understanding in the upcoming budget, there's a position for a volunteer coordinator, staff person. Is that right? In this budget, we talked about it at the very least. And I think some kind of environmentally focused volunteer effort that maybe is organized by you guys and with maybe with staff or that new person would be, I think, great. I think it'd be great, personally.
Yeah, and so remind me, the budget is July 1st?
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course you'd have to advertise and bring that person on board.
Yeah, these things often take a few months, and so it's not till like the winter time when we get the person in.
Gotcha.
Unless they've been, sometimes if it's urgent, we have them already advertising it right now and trying to hire at that time, but I don't believe that's the case with this one, so it'll take a little time. But that would probably be a great opportunity for you guys to work with that person to do a good event. I think it could be kind of educational and volunteer-y at the same time. It'd be really great.
Yeah, and is Peak Fest, is that gonna be at the same time next year?
Probably,
First Saturday of May.
Yeah, first.
barring unforeseen events like
Okay.
COVID.
So if the board like next year wanted to do a fall educational thing to sort of balance the Peak Fest thing, that would be an option, because then the volunteer coordinator would be on board. Okay. All right. Let's see. Do y'all have any other thoughts regarding the festivals?
I think we could have had a little bit more information about what the EAB actually is. Whether that's a handout or if that's even just a piece of paper or something, just to give a little bit of a explanation. We didn't have anything for Earth Fest, but we had kind of our bylaws for Peak Fest. So that was helpful to at least refer to, just to help explain what it is that we do. It might have also been helpful to, I know we had the QR codes for the native and the invasive plants, but we didn't have anything besides that for them to take. I wonder if that could have been on some of the goodies or whatnot that they were taking home. If you just put it on, if you could put it on the potted planter or the
Like a QR code
or on the
URL.
fan,
Yeah.
so that way they could refer to that instead of.
You can make stickers and stick them on there.
Yeah.
Put the QR codes on the stickers, that would work.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's try and remember that as the next items are ordered. The items that we have, the fans and the pots, those are very easy to put stickers on, but like the silverware things, that might be a little more difficult. Or we could just have stickers to give away too.
If we do end up still doing the same, native versus invasive, we could actually have the seeds for those natives to provide. Like, I knew we had, wildflower seeds. I had no idea what the wildflower seeds were until we were actually at Peak Fest.
Ian took one
And we
apart.
took one apart and goes, oh,
It's just milkweed.
it's milkweed. And I could have put that on the board.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people asked what it was.
What else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we kept, I feel like,
Native wildflowers.
Yeah.
Is what we would say, what I'd say.
It's one type of native wildflower.
anytime we give those out, regardless of the education topic, people are always asking that. So that would be good to nail down well in advance, so we can actually tell people about that. Okay.
Well, the butterfly milkweed plant was really a good plant.
Yeah, I hope they grow. Did anyone take one to give it a try?
Yeah, so I took one. I haven't given it a try yet.
Okay, because I did have people ask me, they said, oh, I picked up one of these at the event last time and nothing grew. It's like, oh,
Well, I have heard that it may take a couple of years for it really to flower.
Yeah.
I don't know, because
It
I
depends
got
on
a
the
brown
milkweed.
thumb. I don't have a green thumb.
Yeah, it depends on the milkweed. If it was it the orange one like
It's the
just,
Yes.
butterfly milkweed, yeah.
so the
Yes, the
first,
orange one.
because it's a perennial, the first year it's not gonna flower, but you should still get sprouts out of it
Right.
and full leaves.
Right.
But the second year, it'll produce big old giant clusters
Right.
of orange flowers.
Okay, see, this will be good to know in
Yeah,
advance.
that's great.
Yeah, like, so we could, hyped them up.
Set expectations.
Yeah,
There's gonna
Thank
be
you.
a lot of disappointed little kids running around out there.
I know.
It can be a lesson in patience.
Exactly.
I think that a poster that describes in kind of large letters, people can read it when they're walking by, kind of what you guys do as the EAB would be really valuable. And then maybe have a spot at the bottom where the photos can be, changed out if the board changes up, but have the photos of kind of the people on the board, so people can walk by and they can see photo and name of everybody. I think it'd be good to have and reuse every time there's a festival.
That is a good idea. So when we get the next budget, we should start maybe lining up the items that are gonna need to go into that budget. And same thing, start working on it well in advance, because I think we did have the idea of having the tall banners, and those were not that expensive. It was just the timeline was way too tight for these events. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And January 1st is what we're budgeting for the start date for the volunteer person.
Okay,
So next year, that'd be a great person to work with for volunteer stuff.
okay, excellent, yeah.
In terms of like the education piece and also just sort of horsepower to do stuff, we could probably find a way to tie in with a local high school and work with some students to do some stuff that would satisfy education, and you could give them a project to do. I don't know what it would be, but like I'm just thinking, I'm actually hiring a local high school student on an internship. I'm not going to even pay the person. They have to do it through a tech school thing through Friendship. I'll probably use that kid to do some research for stuff here. But I think we could engage a high school and come up with some kind of program to easily.
That's a good idea, and actually, Member Jensen was actually in touch with the Apex High. They have an environmental club, and there was some interest. I don't know, I mean, school's out in like a month, so I don't know if we'll have time to do that during this school year, but he does have a contact at Apex High as well, if we wanted to bring in multiple schools, but I
there's
think
got to be
that's
some way
a
to
great
use
idea.
that.
Yeah, if you can think of any specific projects, bring it.
Yeah, my brain is not there right now.
Well, I mean, there's no hurry. Yeah, there's no hurry.
To bring back up the milkweed seeds, they need cold stratification. 30 to 60 days.
Hopefully that was already done
Hope so,
to
but
these.
that might be why they're not coming up.
Yeah, and I don't know the source vendor.
Caitlin was gonna test that out, and she's supposed to get back to me on that.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Whether she will. or
I
not,
mean,
don't
because
know.
it'll be good to know, because we do have 1.5 boxes of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, it would be helpful to know what they need to do to make it work.
Yeah.
Now, if the storage down there is cold during the winter, we won't have to worry about it.
I don't know if that's a climate controlled room or not.
I believe it is, yeah.
Okay, all right, hey. Good, okay, excellent. All right, any last thoughts on festivals? Education stuff.
No, Philip Barnes reached out to me
Okay.
and wanted to have a chat. He didn't say what topics he wanted to talk about, but are there anything from EAB that y'all want me to pass along to him?
He's the tree cap coordinator, the staff, Town Apex staff tree cap.
I'm talking to him on Monday, so.
I think I'd just like to hear what they're focusing on and what they're sort of.
Yeah, we were supposed to be meeting with everybody last week
Last
or
week.
whenever, and that got canceled because we lost somebody.
Well, that, and unfortunately, we found out afterwards that if we're gonna have a quorum from any of the boards, we have to actually publicly notice it, and I don't think we had realized that. I don't know if Megan actually did notice it. I didn't find it, and when I found out, it was too late for us to do that appropriately. And Jessica and I had things that we were trying to do those evenings. So, but if you guys want to do that again in the future, we can definitely set it up in one of the parks rooms, and we can get the public notices going. If you want a staff member to be there, just let us know and we'll be happy to do that. If you guys just want to hang out and mingle and exchange information, that's also fine. Or if you want to have a small group designated to go do that and meet up without a quorum, let us know that too, and we can get you a room set up.
I think one of those things would be a good idea. I'm not sure.
Y'all let me know which one.
So like a meet and greet.
Or,
So are you all still doing where you're,
We have not set up the meeting between the three of us again.
Okay.
We did our, thing with Earth Fest and with Peak Fest. It was supposed to be more than, anyways.
right.
We met with those and we have not set up a new one. We plan on doing that though.
okay,
And that might be why he wants to talk,
okay,
to see, well, what are we doing? And beyond Peak Fest, we didn't have any plans. The next meeting was going to be figure that out.
okay.
But do y'all want me to talk between three of them to try to find like either a meet and greet so we can get together all the meeting members and we talk, amongst each
Hearing
other?
no from
Hmm?
from our town clerk. I'm hearing that's probably not a good idea. Maybe at first, maybe just the chair and vice chair
Okay.
to meet to kind of establish the purpose of what y'all are going to be doing. That was just his recommendation.
And maybe an agenda, even if it's just bullet points of general items, that'll help.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be perfectly formal, but it helps to give a better idea to the public of what was going on and what was being discussed. Even if the first agenda item for the first meeting is determine additional agenda items for future meetings.
Yeah.
That's probably what it would be.
Well, so do we still want to have Jason, because he was sort of the liaison from this board that was meeting with them. Do we want to do that, or?
I think that's fine. Yeah.
And does
Makes
that need
sense.
to be public as well since it's just three people or no?
No,
Okay.
it does not have to be unless there's going to be a quorum from
Quorum will be,
from any of the three boards.
okay.
So you guys would have to have 5 or more people, and I honestly don't know the numbers for the other ones, but.
Yeah, and I know Philip wouldn't be the one to know this, but I'd be curious to hear about Bee City, because I know Caitlin was saying they had not had a meeting in a while, or,
That's what I've heard.
yeah. Yeah,
A person that I can't come up with the name of right now.
David
Her
Wood.
name, she says that they haven't met either. So
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with that?
okay.
I don't know why that name is not going up in my brain.
Oh well.
Yeah, so I just, be curious to hear what's up with Tree Cap.
Okay, yeah, I'll get more information, discuss with him if he does want to bring a quorum together, and that if we do, we need to come up with
With an agenda and everything so we can inform the public.
Excellent, all right,
Does
thank
that
you for
fit
doing.
everybody's?
Okay. Just make sure I got everything right.
And that's just, hello everyone, I'm Alan, I think I've met all of you, but that is just to make sure that we comply with all the open meeting laws, regulations, and so forth. And that's actually what we do when we have the joint council collaboration. So when town council goes and meets with the town of Cary or the town of Mooresville, the manager, the mayor, the clerk all come together and kind of formulate an agenda before bringing all the councils together. So that's just what our normal process has been, and I think it would be helpful if the chairs of each of those, and maybe the chairs and vice chairs and the staff liaisons from those different boards kind of come together and formulate what are the discussion items, so that way you go back and inform your board, see if there's any input, and that way when everybody comes to the table, there's a clear understanding of what's supposed to happen.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense, thank you, Alan. Okay, so I think for the time being, Jason, you'll run point on this, and then we'll see if we
We'll
want,
see.
yeah,
See if there's any good way to do it.
yeah, okay. discussion items you all would like to talk about while we're here?
I have something just as additional future topics for agendas. And Suzanne, you and I talked about a couple of things at Earthfest and at Peak Fest, and one thing was that I was particularly interested in was any zoning conditions that might facilitate kind of future public transportation. And there's like the Route 1 collector is a very specific path now. We're looking at we've been reviewing some properties like along Highway 64 and other major high density areas that might be good, where public transportation might grow, or would be more likely for public transportation to go in the future. So I would be interested in knowing what sort of zoning conditions might help facilitate that future development, if any. So it might, I don't know if Shelley, you want to speak to this, if you know offhand, or if it would be good to have somebody from transportation planning kind of talk about how Route 1 went, and any sort of lessons learned and what we could do to help kind of facilitate that.
That's a great question. I can tell you that there's been some discussion amongst staff about that, partly because it does kind of overlap between y'all's mission and the Transportation Committee's mission. The Transportation Board only meets quarterly, and they don't review individual projects like y'all do. What they actually do is they work with the transportation staff to set policy and design maps and figure out how they want things to look in the end, like how they want everything to work. And then they rely upon staff to evaluate the individual projects and implement those policies as needed. So they function a little bit differently than y'all have so far. I am not really comfortable giving you a list of recommendations right now for zoning conditions that might facilitate that, but I can talk to some of our transportation staff about whether or not they'd be willing to come to the next meeting, and then they can answer some of your questions. Some of the things that might seem like easy, low-hanging fruit to do, we're hesitant to do partly because of putting additional cost burdens on developers, and it's mostly because we're trying to get a little bit of everything with every project. We're trying to get the affordable housing, we're trying to get the environmentally friendly development. We're trying to, we also require them to build all the roads in town pretty much. So if there's infrastructure going into a new area, there's like a 95% certainty, 90% that it's being built by a developer, which means it's very costly for them as well. And we're not trying to say that as a way of saying, look, don't ask them for things. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. We're just trying to find, we're always in the business of trying to find that balance among everything, of trying to get the most that we can for our town at the best price, because they do get economies of scale that we sometimes have difficulty with getting. But at the same time, without making it so difficult and so expensive to develop in our town that they can't develop anymore at all. And then we're stuck in situations where we just don't get any new infrastructure or any new projects with any of that stuff. So I would like the chance to talk to the rest of staff first. We might be able to get them to come to next month's meeting. It might be a meeting after that, but I will let you know in advance. But it's a great question, and it's definitely something that we've been thinking about too. So it's awesome to hear that you guys are interested in those.
It would be helpful just to know,
Right.
what their thinking is and what they're doing.
Sure.
For our own knowledge, if
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah, we can definitely do something along those lines, yeah. I can tell you that we have been doing a better job about getting zoning conditions for bus stops and things of that nature along the routes that we already have, or the routes that will be expanding in the very near future. So you guys have seen several projects come through, including some in downtown, that we ended up getting multiple conditions for in order to add that kind of infrastructure so that when stuff gets there, it's ready for it, especially the apartment complexes that we've seen come through.
Shelley, yeah, I think, so my understanding is the grant that they applied for, they've either gotten or going to get to do more of the planning for the, possible future routes or different, higher frequency of the routes. And so I think engaging this board when that's occurring would be a really good time to kind of share thoughts, because if we're planning out 15 years in the future of routes and, from going from 1 to 5 or 6, or I'm not sure how many we're going to plan out, but having you guys be a part of that and thinking about the environmental aspects of, if you could inform that discussion, I think that'd be really valuable. So I think that's going to be starting up in the early fall or late summer. It's my understanding. I'm not quite sure, but the grant, the fund, it's in the budget, I think, for next year, right? And that one they've already started thinking about how they're going to do this and buying software that helps them time out the routes and how that would work. So I think that'd be a really great time to kind of think about the environmental aspect as well as just the movement of people part of it. And I agree that that's a really, I say it as an environmental issue as much as it is a transportation one personally. And so I think it's great that you're thinking about it.
Does that sound good, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was expecting. It's just, having staff come in a future time and having that back conversation of what might be appropriate. And I'd be interested to know what has been suggested in the past, and just as an opportunity to brainstorm. Not every project is going to be a good candidate for public transportation, but we know that it'd be nice to have that additional information, so that way when we have the opportunity to put zoning conditions on, we can think about the public transportation as applicable.
I actually just realized I should have shared an announcement with y'all earlier that will help inform how you look at projects going on in the future. This past month in April, we actually just passed a UDO amendment that's going to change, that changes starting this month, which is part of the reason we don't have any meetings this month. The timing of when you guys are going to be reviewing projects. So you will no longer be seeing them before they're submitted to staff. You'll be seeing them instead after they've gone through the pre-application process and after they've been officially submitted for staff review. So you'll with a larger, more complicated rezoning, those planned unit developments, you might see it after 1 month of review has already happened. So you'll get a little closer to that finished product. Still not going to be finished, but you'll get a little bit closer. With the smaller, less complicated projects, it would be the same month that staff will be doing comments. So you guys will actually see it for those before I finish my comments most of the time, because the Friday after your meeting is almost always when my comments are due. So if there's something that you particularly want to bring up but may not be an environmental advisory board thing, you can bring me aside and say, hey, can you ask this question at least? And we can do that. But so you'll be, if y'all remember at the beginning of all of this, for those of you who are on the board, everybody was kind of annoyed with the lack of detail that was provided and that has been provided. So you'll see it really won't change a ton, because staff doesn't get a lot more information necessarily than you have, but you'll only be seeing the projects that are actually getting submitted. So it won't feel like things are disappearing and going away as much. We occasionally still have projects that decide to pull out after submitting, but not as frequently. And you'll have a little bit more information, and I'll have actually had a chance to really look at stuff for the most part, and the other planners, so that we can get a better idea of what needs to be asked for and what can be provided. As a part of that, you'll be getting the application that is submitted to staff for review. If there is a comment letter that we've already sent out, I'll give you that as well, if it's for one of those longer ones. If there isn't, then you'll just get the packet that staff gets, which does include the neighborhood meeting report. sorry, I blanked for a second, that has any comments and questions and concerns from the surrounding neighbors. Okay.
One comment I did get, Pig Fest was, composting. And it sort of ties back to the meeting that Suzanne and I had with, Carrie in Morrisville, a month or so ago, where they're really got a lot of stuff going on with composting and recycling. And I was thinking we ought to get a little more education on what Apex is doing with regard to that. I think you're selling composting bins, or you're making them available for people to purchase.
I don't think we sell them anymore.
I
At least the
don't-
website says that.
Okay.
I think it's
I was
through an
familiar with the
outside
rain
vendor.
barrels. We stopped selling rain barrels. I thought the compost was the same. So if the website still says it at the warehouse?
That was, no, I think it was through a third party
Oh,
somehow.
okay. We used to sell them here at cost.
But I just wondering if there was a way we could get some sort of information,
Yeah, we can get you an
education on
update.
what we're doing, because I know I felt a little, I don't know how to describe it. I was not as fully informed about what we're doing in Apex as Terry and Morrisville were when we were talking about it.
We can definitely get you some information. I'll be honest, I don't know at the moment,
We have a little bit on our website, just an educational page
Yeah.
but we
for regional opportunities and kind of like how to at home, but it doesn't look like we sell them ourselves.
Cary and Morrisville also have a separate sustainability coordinator that does a job slightly different from what Megan's job actually was. That person was more those roles are more the clearinghouse that things go through. So they actually are part of all the decisions of pulling things together, kind of I hate to say it this way, but like a sustainability czar type situation. Not necessarily in charge of, but on top of everything within the towns. And our position hasn't exactly been that. It's more of a budget analyst type situation to make sure that we're doing the best, we're doing the best job with the funds that are publicly available for the things that we want to accomplish in sustainability. So it's a little bit
In-house.
different.
Yeah.
In-house, right, the in-house sustainability things. So it's a little different. So that probably explains some of the differences that you've noticed. But we can contact some of the different departments and see what we're doing. We may not have anything going on, in which case I'll let you
That would be
know.
informative as well.
Right, in which case I'll let you know.
Yeah,
And
just, I think it would be helpful for us to at least know what we're doing one way or the other.
Yep.
It was my understanding that the compost bins and the rain barrel program had been stopped as well, but I didn't know why. If you could find that out, it would be great,
Okay. we can look
whether
into
it was interest or just budgetary.
that. It wasn't budgetary because it was at cost. We were selling them. I don't know if it was just lack of interest. We had to keep the inventory and nobody came by. This was years ago.
Yeah, that was when we were in, formal drought restrictions, I think. is when
Correct.
They were pushing the rain
You're
barrels.
exactly right. Like back in 07, 08. Yeah.
Crunchy grass, I remember those days, in May.
So are there any other like outside groups that you guys would like to hear from, that you would like to be educated about in any particular topic, that any expertise we could bring in and hear about? I mean, or are there additional folks from the town you would like to hear from? Like, as you're thinking through the zoning conditions, do you ever think, gosh, I'd like to apply that, but I'm not real sure about it because I don't have the background. I don't know if that would be appropriate. Nothing comes to mind now, just, table that and perhaps, next open discussion, if you think of anything, we can revisit this and get some additional folks on the agenda. Shelley, do you have a sense, is it truly a slowdown in applications? Are we gonna get avalanched, or what does the future look like?
So because this changed and took effect at the 1st of May, I think what happened, and this is entirely a guess, but we didn't receive as many new projects this month. And part of it may have been that engineering firms knew about the amendments, and there were a variety of them, and so we're kind of recalibrating their expectations. But what I think happened is honestly that everybody's kids got out of school, and this is the first month that they had a chance to go on a family vacation for the most part. And so I know the first couple weeks of this month, when I tried to contact anybody elsewhere, I'd say 1 in 5 emails got a bounce back of I'm out of the office. And so I think it just happens to be a slow month.
Okay.
I think we're going to continue seeing as many projects as we have before this, but we had a slow month last June or July.
That's true.
And like going back and looking at the different agendas, we normally have about one or in the early summer each year. And I think it's just depending on when everybody's kids get out of school and when the calendar falls on.
Okay, so so I guess what I'm getting at is we will have time in the agenda to hear from folks, and
yes,
it's not gonna be just like, I think there was one agenda at one point, there was like 7 or 8 projects.
We are gonna do we very rarely get that many new rezonings. It's happened, I'm not gonna lie to you. If that does happen, one option that we could consider is having a split agenda, so having 2 different nights. So maybe we do it on like the Wednesday and the Thursday, or the Tuesday and the Thursday. And staff would communicate with you about that ahead of time and say, look, it looks like we're probably going to have, 9 rezonings coming in this month. What do you think about doing 2 nights instead of one incredibly long one? But you guys have also been doing a lot better about your time management with everything. It is really easy to get carried away with asking questions and discussions, and I do it all the time, so this is not me knocking you guys. But you've gotten much better at that, so I think it'll be easier to handle than you think. But most months we get between 2 and 5 new zoning submittals.
Okay.
It's rare that we get more than that. On average in a year, we see between 28 and 35. 35 is our highest year, I think, for the entire year. So you'll be looking at between 2 and 3 on average each month.
Okay. And I know that Megan, I'm not sure if she was sending the documents out as soon as she got them to give us the maximum amount of time to review them. Is that the plan going forward, or how much time can we expect?
So we can do it a couple of different ways. If you guys have a preference, feel free to email me and we can work that out while we're looking for while other departments are looking for a replacement for Megan's position. The way that we do it for planning board and town council is that we typically require all the applications to be in and ready. And for them, it's a little different because we've finished reviews and we're getting like the final product done. But we would normally send that out to planning board and town council about a week ahead of their meeting. And then they have a chance we make sure that it goes out, I think Thursday is our latest day normally before the meetings, normally. Either one. I know for planning board it's normally Thursday at the latest. I think the same for town council, but Friday. Okay, Friday at the latest.
For a Tuesday meeting?
For a Tuesday meeting. So it's over the weekend. We try to get them out faster, but sometimes things just happen. So I would normally we will probably try to aim for Wednesday and get them to you on Thursday. We can try to do it earlier if that's what you want. But like I said, you'll see an average of 3 a month. And they'll normally be pretty close to when they've been submitted.
Okay.
And we can always try it one way, and then if that's not enough time, we can push the date back.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, the bigger projects might require more time and thought than if
Sure.
it's just a smaller one.
Sure.
Okay, I'm inclined to say as soon as possible to give as much time as possible.
Okay.
But I realize you're under constraints about when you're reviewing and when you're receiving stuff.
Well, and it's a push and pull. If you guys want the applications as soon as we get them, we can send those out to you, but I won't have had a chance to look at them at that point. So any questions you have, it'll be me taking time to review them before I can answer them. And then we can send the agenda out afterwards. It's also a question of, are you okay with searching your email for the individual item packets, or would you rather have them all available in a link format immediately that you can click on from the agenda itself and open up? And these are things you guys can take your time to think about.
I mean, we've generally been getting them piece by piece,
Yeah.
in the past.
It's just an offer to make it more consolidated for you if you want it.
If you were to do it by links, would that be going on to another web page?
No, it'd be going on to the town's website. They're already available on the interactive development map within about a week after they're submitted. I think 10 days is our outside time frame on those.
Okay.
So it would just be the town's website and actually a link to the map that's already out there for you. For everybody, not just you guys.
Okay.
I think links would be better than email.
Yeah,
Emails with attachments, honestly. I was actually gonna say, is there like a SharePoint or something?
We do have one internal to the town. I can see if there's a way to set it up for you guys to have access to it. It would have to be a conversation with IT to do that, but we might be able to do it that way if you'd rather.
I ought to be able to share those links.
I would think, yeah.
I just want to, I don't want to commit to things that I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, one other thing, John, did you mention to me at some point something about the first page of the suggested zoning conditions needed something?
Actually, it's the second page. If you look before you start on that form that we've developed, there's a bunch of lines there that we used to have that people would write comments on. I don't think we need that because that's covered at the end of the form now.
1 second, let me pull it up and put it up on the thing so we can look at it. And is it just the document that we came up with, or is it the first?
No, it's just the current one we've got.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
So one little change that I made was I added a spot for us to fill in project name and date,
Ooh, that's nice.
the meeting date, just because otherwise I'm scrambling to try to figure out when we heard these.
So that project name will be consistent, like through any links or any communications or agenda items that you'll send us so we can,
That's the theory.
okay.
We do have situations where developers decide they want to change their name 3 or 4 times. So we charge a fee for that, but in an effort to try to dissuade that, to be completely honest. But sometimes they don't know what their name is going to be for their subdivision or their development, and it's like Cumie Olive Road assemblage, and so they end up coming up with something prettier later on. But generally speaking, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we can walk back, and find all the relevant materials if it's not coming to us in a packet.
Is this the type of thing that you were talking about, John?
No. If you go to the second page of the document, it's page 2 of that form.
So not this, so this is.
No, not this particular one. It's on the
one that's
form
on the
itself.
website.
There's one that's on the website. Yeah.
Gotcha. 1 second. I also sent you guys an email with some links about invasive species and stuff if you want to take a chance to look at them later. So this is the first 2 pages of this are the staff form portion of this. That's the rezoning and pre-application meeting.
Right. At the bottom of the last on the second page, there's a section that says proposed zoning conditions, and then it's got.
So this is actually still here because we get a lot of zoning conditions that don't have anything to do with you guys. So we might get conditions like the maximum density of this development will be 6 units per acre, or
Okay,
the
so
developer.
this form isn't just for us.
Right.
Okay.
It's actually for staff in general, but we've been making it do double duty by also having y'all's stuff at the end. It's just that some of our applicants have not felt like actually going through our document and checking the boxes that we have so kindly made available to
Yeah, I
them.
know. I'm not happy with that.
I'm not particularly happy about it either. So we're going to be pushing for this to be part of the application itself with the new schedule. And so it's still going to be on here because staff still wants to know what are you proposing, and so that we can also make some suggestions. But it will also be a part of the application for the rezoning cases. And a lot of times they may honestly say when they submit for the rezoning case, they may just like, a lot of times what they give us is a Word document, and they've gone through and they've copied and pasted the conditions out into that.
Yeah.
And that's how those end up looking. And I'll try to do my best to convert those into this where I can, so that it's easier for you guys to scroll through and correlate.
Well, I was just thinking it's in my mind, what they see that and they think, well, we don't have to deal with the last, that long thing.
We've gone back and forth on it a couple of times. I completely understand what you're saying, but we get a lot of zoning conditions that are to do with transportation or affordable housing or architectural conditions. And so we need a place to put the things that don't have anything to do with y'all. Ideally, they would use this space for everything else and then go through and use the check boxes because that just seems faster. But what can I tell you? People are interesting creatures.
Okay.
All right. Anybody have anything else for open discussion?
Just another future topic is this is another thing that you brought up about looking through that suggested zoning conditions list and just identifying any low-hanging fruit that we might consider making code, and maybe forming a subgroup to kind of work out the specifics of what that language could be and working with staff with that. Like there's things such as the pet waste stations that we always would put on a larger development, and that's something that we could, it's a low-hanging fruit, for example.
Yeah, I think that's good. We probably should maybe add that as an agenda item for next meeting. So if y'all could go through the list and think about if you want to be on a subgroup to develop that. And perhaps, John, you were on the subcommittee for the lighting one, right? You could maybe briefly next meeting go over the process of what you all did and how it was so successful.
Long and lengthy.
Yeah.
This wouldn't necessarily have to be quite as lengthy of a process because that was revising an entire chapter of the ordinance.
Okay.
And I have to admit, everybody who was on that did most of the heavy lifting. I answered questions and fiddled with formatting.
You did a lot of work on
it. But depending on what you're asking us to add to the UDO, this might be a faster process, especially if it's something that that's an individual item that can be added in somewhere. So like the pet waste containers and everything. that's what y'all want to do, I'd suggest that you start thinking in terms of ratios or minimum standards that you want to see done. And we can definitely get together and set up a time. I really can't do more than about once a month, but you guys, as far as meetings go, but you guys can send me anything you want to, and I will do my best to get back to you. I still have an outline, an email that I'm waiting to send to a couple of people once I get more info, but I try to let you know about that at least.
Okay, so think about those items, and if you want to be on a subcommittee and push some things forward.
And staff would love it if you can figure out what the low-hanging fruit is and tell us what we need to put in the ordinance. We may have some suggestions for slightly altering language, but we're always happy to make those improvements. I will say, just as an FYI, it will probably take us, depending on the priorities that town council sets for us, between 3 and 6 months to get things actually updated in the ordinance. The lighting thing is taking longer because it's bigger. Don't give me that look. It is a complete rewrite. You remember how much red line was in there.
I know.
But smaller things we can get done faster.
Great. All right. Anything else? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All right. John moves.
I will second.
Katie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Unanimously adjourned.